Hello, my name is Mr. E and I'm your online math tutor. Today we're going to be learning about solving systems of equations using the substitution method. I've written down 4 basic steps that we need to solve these types of equations. As we move along, I'll highlight each step. So we have this question: y equals 6x minus 11, and then minus 2x minus 3y equals minus 7. I like to label my equation equation 1 and equation 2. That way it's easier to keep track of what you're doing. So the first step says solve either equation for x or y. So all that is saying is isolate x or y on either equation. It doesn't matter which one you use. So as you can see from equation 1, y is already isolated. We already have y equals 6x minus 11. So the conditions for the first step has been met. So we could jump to the second step, which says substitute x or y into the other equation. So we have to take the value from the first equation and substitute it into the second equation. So we have minus 2x minus 3. Let's put a big parenthesis here for right now. Equals minus 7. Now inside the parenthesis, we substitute the value we have for y, which will be 6x minus 11. So the second condition has been met. So we could go to the third condition, which says solve for x or y. In this case, we'll be solving for x. And we do that by distributing the negative 3 into the parentheses to get rid of the parentheses. So we have minus 2x. So minus 3 times 6x will be a minus 18x. Then minus 3 times minus 11 will be a plus 33. And that's equal to minus 7. Then when we collect like terms, we'll have minus 20x plus 33 equals minus 7. And we'll subtract 33 from both sides. So we have minus 20x equals minus 7 minus 33 will be a minus 40. Then we divide both sides by minus 20. So x will be equal to a positive 2. So the third condition has been met. We'll solve for x. So now the fourth and final step says plug value into any equation to get the other variable. So we have the value of x is 2. So you could plug it into either equation 1 or equation 2. So we're going to use equation 1. It really doesn't matter which one you use. So we plug in the value of x equals 2 into equation 1. So we have y equals 6, and we'll put our parenthesis, minus 11. Now inside the parenthesis, we'll put in the value we have for x, which is 2. So 6 times 2 is 12. So we have 12 minus 11, and y will be equal to 1. So in this system of equation, our solutions would be the value for x, which is 2, and the value for y, which is 1. Now in this example, we didn't really have to worry about doing the first step, which says solve either equation for x or y, because we already have y isolated. So on our next example, we'll see how we apply that first step. So our next example is minus 7x minus 2y equals minus 13. And we have x minus 2y equals 11. I like to label my equation equation 1 and equation 2. So we could go through the steps. So the first step says solve either equation for x or y. So as you can see from both equations, we don't have any other variables isolated, so we have to solve for either x or y. Looking at equation 2, it's easier to solve for x because all we have to do is just add 2y to both sides. It's just one step. So we'll add 2y to both sides. So we have x equals 11 plus 2y. And we could call this equation 3. So the conditions for the first step has been met. We've isolated x. It says solve either equation for x or y, which means isolate either x or y. So we've isolated x, so we can jump to the second step, which says substitute x into the other equation. So we take this value for x and we substitute it into the first equation. So we have minus 7 without parentheses minus 2y equals minus 13. Now in the parentheses we put in the value for x, which is 11 plus 2y. So now we're back to having a regular linear equation. So we distribute this negative 7 into the parentheses. So minus 7 times 11 will be minus 77. Then minus 7 times 2y, a positive 2y, will be a minus 14y. Then we have minus 2y, and that's equal to minus 13. Now when we collect our like terms, which is the third step, which says solve for x or y. So we're solving for y. So you collect our like terms, we have minus 77. So minus 14y minus 2y will be minus 16y equals minus 13. No, I'm sorry, minus 11. No, you're right, it's minus 13, I'm sorry. So now we add 77 to both sides. So this cancels out. So now we have minus 16y equals, so minus 13 plus 77 is a positive 64. So you divide both sides by minus 16. So we have y equals a negative 4. So the third condition has been met. We'll solve for x or y. In this case, we'll solve for y. Now the fourth and final step says plug the value into any equation to get the other variable. So we have the value of y as minus 4. So you could plug it into either equation 1, 2, or 3. It's easier to plug it into equation 3. So we'll plug in this value for y into equation 3. So we have x equals 11 plus 2, and we'll put our parentheses. Now in the parentheses we'll put in the value for y, which is minus 4. So now we have 11, then plus 2 times minus 4 will be minus 8. So x will be equal to that. So our final answer, x, will be 11 minus 8, which is 3. So the solution to this system of equation will be the value for x, which is 3, and the value for y, which is minus 4. And that's how you solve systems of equation using substitution method.